Rail trails.
Good morning, Friday, January 23rd, 2026, House Transportation. It just got off a little bit longer floor than we expected. We have Jackie Casino here with the Vermont, well, I guess the agency's rail program director and program manager, I'm sorry. And we're looking at budget and money and perhaps some accomplishments of the last year, but maybe some goals for this year. And how are you spending taxpayers' money in your area? Welcome. Good morning. It's all yours.
Thanks, Chair Walker. And good morning, everybody. I'm Jackie Casino. I am the Agency of Transportation's Rail Trails Program Manager. I'm here today to give you an overview of the program, as well as discuss the proposed 2027 budget. So just a reminder that the Agency of Transportation covers 145 trail miles that are rail banked and are owned by the state of Vermont. This means that it is inclusive of 4 trails across the state that run through 31 of our towns. We have 27 trailheads, 90 bridges, and 738 culverts. The agency is responsible for the maintenance, operations, local, regional coordination, marketing and outreach, and planning for this trail network. And I'm proud to report the trail use is diverse and it's growing. In the last year, we permitted 30 special events on our trails. Trail user volume varies across the state, but just some highlights from the 2025 season on the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail in Morristown.
You said permitted 30 plus special events. I'm not sure I saw that on there somewhere. Are those
Correct.
what kind of events are we talking about?
Sure. So it can be everything from at the end of this month, we'll have the annual North Country Mushers sled dog race in Morristown and Wolcott that draws a couple of hundred people from across New England. Fundraisers that can go end to end on trails. An example of this would be on the Missisquoi Valley Rail Trail, the Pedal Paddle event that's sponsored by the Northern Forest Canoe Trail. So there are a variety of events that happen on our trails.
Thank you.
Sure.
Speaking of the those events, and I don't know if we're gonna get into it, but get ahead of it. But last year we had some language dictating what was and wasn't allowed.
Correct.
Was there any issues with that implementation as far as those events?
Yeah, not as far as the events go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been successful, and we really look to partner with organizations and communities across the state to increase that, because they're a public resource and it's been a great asset for our towns. So trail user volume can vary across the state. Just some highlights from 2025 includes on the LVRT in Morristown, daily trips average around 200, and they're up to around 80,000 trips per year. On the Missisquoi Valley Rail Trail in St. Albans, we had some disruptions because there was an end-to-end resurfacing project that unfortunately closed part of that trail for a good chunk of the busiest part of our year. That's how construction season goes, right? But even with that, that site averages around 125 trips daily. The Delaware and Hudson Rail Trail, one of our trail counters in Castleton, which is adjacent to Vermont State University and their trail network, averages during the school year 900 individual trips a year. And so between that and special events for the cross-country team in that area, that counter actually came up to 185,000 individual trips. So it's significant. And on the BB Spur, highlight is in the city of Newport. That area averages around 160 individual trips daily. And I'm sure if we were to put a counter on the Memphremagog trails, which are adjacent to the BB Spur, that number would be even higher. There are various businesses that are operating on our trails and adjacent to our trails. And I'm proud to report that we have 461 individual trail-friendly businesses across the state. We conduct an annual trail user survey, and we had 431 folks complete that survey this year. So overall, that's just to give you a picture of the impact of the trails, who's using them. But I think it's safe to say that the economic impact of these trails cannot be overstated. They are a key and accessible component of the state's outdoor recreation network, and they are a significant contributor to the state and local economy. They directly contribute to our towns through lodging, food, fuel, and gear. And of note, statewide, in 2023, the U.S. Department of Commerce Bureau of Economic Analysis, or the BEA, released a report that examined outdoor rec's significance and growing impact on the Vermont economy. The BEA found that outdoor recreation created $2.1 billion of impact to the Vermont economy, accounting for almost 5% of our GDP, or second only behind the state of Hawaii for outdoor rec and its contribution to GDP. According to the findings, the highest economic contributor to the state's outdoor sector was snow activities, which include skiing, snowmobiling, dog sledding, fat tire biking, and the trails allowed for all of those. Those activities contributed $222 million to the state's GDP in that year. More specifically for our trails, the Northeastern Vermont Development Association released an economic impact study also in 2023 regarding the LVRT just in Caledonia County. And the projections showed $4.7 million in annual sales and the creation of up to 75 jobs in Caledonia County. So we know that these trails are important not only for our towns, for our multimodal transportation options, but as well as Vermont-based businesses. Looking at our program, I think it's important that we acknowledge that partnerships with our regional planning commissions, our rail trail councils, towns, key stakeholders such as nonprofit trail groups and VAST are really critical to the success of these trails and to the program because we are a full-time staff of 4. So we are a lean group managing assets across the state. We have the opportunity during the peak of our summer season to hire 1 to 2 field staff that are temporary employees to assist.
Well, I'm glad you did it.
And just to note that the rail trail councils are staffed through our regional planning commissions. And their staff time is funded with a combination of state planning dollars as well as rail trail program funds. The role of the Rail Trail Council is to support engagement with trail towns, to coordinate our volunteers, support local projects, and assist in trail promotion and outreach. They also help to encourage educational programming and provide eyes and ears on trails. Rail Trail Councils support the implementation of their specific trail management plans in a collaborative and consistent way. They provide the opportunity for representatives of the towns along these trails, different user types to really have a voice and a seat at the table for how the trails are managed. Looking to our priorities over the next year, I just want to remind folks that the program is still relatively new to the agency. It was established in 2022. And our focus over the last 3 years has really been emergency response and recovery, as well as establishing a program foundation. It's been a bit like driving a bus on a NASCAR track while trying to put the wheels on, right? So our overarching program goal as we look forward is to continue to focus on right-sizing the program, to develop our appropriate systems and foundation, and to manage these assets in a responsible way.
Yes.
Tony. Did you see that? Tony.
Oh, yes.
Over there. Not the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail.
There's more than one
Union
trail?
Rail Trail, right there.
There's more than one trail.
There is, incredible.
Well, we're gonna have to look at this a little tighter.
It's Main Street right there. Great sidewalk.
Maybe a couple.
So the priorities for the upcoming year include wrapping up what I'm calling our legacy projects. They include FEMA funded emergency response and recovery projects, as well as some of our earmark projects. But to really begin to focus more so on asset management and preservation of our system, working to integrate our program within the systems that already exist within the agency for those things. At the same time, we'll continue to support our core programs such as wayfinding signage that's tied to the Trail Friendly Business Program, education and outreach through the Trail Ambassador Program, and really working to mature our Trail Counter Program. Diving into the numbers a little bit regarding the proposed budget, the major buckets for our program include operations and maintenance, capital projects, and staffing. Under the bucket of operations and maintenance includes small scale projects, emergency projects that are not eligible for FEMA, basic repairs such as bridge decking, things like that. It also includes our mowing and vegetation management of invasive species and hazardous plants, equipment maintenance, facility maintenance, trail monitoring and enforcement, asset inventory and inspection, marketing, promotion, and planning as well. Capital projects, as the agency has reorganized and the Rail Trail program has now been pulled out and is a standalone program, a lot of our previous capital projects were under the umbrella of other parts of the agency, and we're working to pull those out as well. So it's definitely a transition for us, but you'll see here reflected in this chart, one of our larger projects this year is the MVRT extension project, and I'll go into more details on that in the next slide, as well as some smaller scale projects like culvert replacements, bridge repairs. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie. I'm just curious, looking at the operations and maintenance line and the 716,000 from federal. So can you just give a little background? So is there STBG, is that a federal program where
Yes.
they're matching similar to the highway program?
Yes, that's a great question. So it's important to note that the majority of our program funding derives from federally funded sources, with 80% coming from the federal level on average. And historically, that has come from the Surface Transportation Block Grant Funds, which is that STBG line you see there. It has also come from one-time monies such as earmarks, and we've been able to, where appropriate, utilize the CRP funds or congestion reduction, the carbon reduction funds as well. And that's where that program will specifically go to fund 80% of the MBRT extension project, because that is extending that trail into downtown St. Albans at the same time the city is funding an investment in sidewalks and shared use paths to connect from downtown to where our trail will end. So essentially it will provide a connection from folks from Richford all the way into the downtown that's off-road. So that's how that money was eligible to be used for that project.
And are you feeling confident these funds will continue to be available?
That's it. So STBG, as far as I know, yes, things are a little different right now at the federal level, but historically, yes, that has not been an issue. We've been very fortunate to be able to take advantage of earmark funds that are special one-time funds. So I think as the program matures, as we're going from really a build-out phase to a maintaining what we have phase, I think it'll be critical for the agency to consider other funding sources besides the earmark funds, because we just can't guarantee that those will always come about.
Right. And I guess my last question on that is, are those funds specific to rail trails, or are they more for trails?
So the STBG funds are one of the more flexible source of funds, so they can be used for trails. So they're not specific to rail trails. There's not, as far as I'm aware, there's not a specific set amount, or excuse me, a type of funds that are specifically for our trails.
Thank you.
Sure.
Representative Couch and then Representative Brooke.
Yeah, thanks for all this information. The under operations management, the federal funding, are those competitive grants? It's not a formula fund that, we get based on how many rail trail miles we have or anything.
Yeah, I'll actually have to look into that.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I don't believe it is a competitive grant. I think it is a set amount that we're awarded on an annual basis, but how that is based is the detail I will need to just confirm, and I will get back to you on that.
Yeah.
Are you able to accept other funding, like individual donations or foundation grants or anything like that?
That's a really great question. At this time, we do not accept foundation or donations. One of the benefits of one of the benefits of establishing the Rail Trail Councils is that they have the opportunity to determine whether or not they want to become a registered nonprofit. So for example, the Northwest Trail Council, which covers all of the Missisquoi Valley Rail Trail and the Franklin County for the LVRT, is a registered nonprofit, so they can fundraise, and that's very critical for the local projects that connect.
Things like signage and.
Correct. And typically their funds will go towards trailheads and amenities and things that are really off the linear corridor.
Did I understand that in combined, there's 200,000 trips on those trails?
Combined total, for all of the trails, I would have to look back in
Well, you-
terms of the annual 2025.
Well, I understood you to say that the rail trail through Pulteney and that type of thing was
185 individual trips. Now that can be because of where that's.
No, I understand, but your counter says that we've got over 200,000 trips on all the trails.
At that location. It'll be greater if we take all.
Well, that's what I'm
of the
saying.
trail
Yeah,
coverage.
that's
So,
good.
so
Thank
you're
you.
correct. It's more
Appreciate
than
it.
that.
Very good, thank you.
So lastly, just in case there were any questions about current and planned projects, again, there's a number of projects that you see here that are funded with those one-time pot of monies.
Just to follow up on Rep. Keefer's point, it would be, I know you just sort of said those numbers, but if you wouldn't mind just putting those into an, follow-up email for us, I think we're all very interested in this. The trails it's showing the trails are being used perhaps more than some of us realized. And, I think the economic development opportunities, not just for tourism visitors, but also just for day-to-day transportation to reach jobs and so forth are pretty profound. I would love to sort of have a chance to kind of skim in that a little bit. It's very fascinating. Thank you.
I'd be happy to provide that. And hopefully in a few more months, we'll be able to direct people to a public-facing dashboard that we're working on cleaning up right now that'll have all the count data in real time as well. So it's exciting.
The Missisquoi Valley Rail Trail extension and so
Yes.
on is city. You're saying, so what do we, it's time. So you're talking construction next year.
And we anticipate being able to put the project out to bid this year and it potentially starting construction this year as well.
Okay. And you said the city is paying for part, or they're doing work around attaching to it?
Sure. So they are working on a bike ped improvement along Federal Street from the downtown, and that will terminate at Lower Newton Road. So right where the
Yeah, I'm very familiar.
exactly
Very familiar.
at the moment, it's like.
Yeah.
And so our trail will terminate there, whereas the city infrastructure will stop.
The crossing of Route 7 by the old messenger and whatnot, that's all our state.
Correct. It's us as well.
And parking along that, up the side, what's gonna happen with trailhead access there? Are we gonna, is that gonna continue to be the trailhead access, or is there some other way we're driving people?
We're planning, so what we would like to do, and we're working with the city on this, is to look at an opportunity for trailhead parking that would be at the Lower Newton Street Road. So right where our trail ends, and their sidewalk system begins to have a trailhead area there, and work to terminate that existing trailhead that is near the Maple City Diner, just due to long-term maintenance issues, enforcement issues.
That's very confusing. Do you anticipate through some time here that, I know you spent a ton of time inventorying, I know you had summer people, you've been working on kind of bringing uniformity to all the trail pieces. And we spent a huge amount of money with the floods and a huge amount of money to get it up to speed and all over. Now we've redone the entire NVRT. Are we gonna see a spot where the funding in this area is gonna level off or perhaps even decrease a little bit in terms of once we kind of had this whole project that needs an entire amount of work through the whole state? You anticipate it's at some point it will level off, that we should, then it'd be more of a maintenance than a continue to be build out signage, effort, work, all the liaison work you're doing with all of the communities. We see a leveling out here at some point that would be less expensive to the state after the investment, more return and less invest.
That's a really great question. And I think, in 2022, when the program was created, I was the sole staff person and the agency went from managing 30 miles of trails to almost 150 miles of trails, right? So there's been that big change and went from using the general fund, is my understanding, to now looking at a more sustainable way to fund basic maintenance and operations. So it's not quite apples to apples of an answer, I would say, because, we went from such a small amount of trail miles to what we have today and are really working on establishing systems. But I think big picture, you are correct that the maintenance and operations of these trails, the regular projects to keep those assets in a state of good repair will level off, whereas a lot of the bulk of our spending over the past few years has really been to build out this network.
Are there other empty beds or empty trails that are abandoned, I guess, that you have as targets that would be eventually added to this?
Not any that I am aware of at my level.
Representative Coyle?
Well, that was my point. And I don't know, Representative Corcoran, what is the one in Bennington that some kind of a circular thing?
Oh, we have the Ninja Trail.
Yeah, what was that? Do you have, is that a town owned? What is that?
It's, town managed, yeah. Yeah, but they're piecemealing it together.
There's a
Yeah.
rail trail in Bennington that is rail banked, that is owned by
Yeah.
the state of Vermont, that is leased, the agency leases to the municipality and they manage it.
Oh,
Very
okay.
similar to the last.
So it's
a little
not
over
on
miles
this map.
Swanton. Correct,
Okay.
because we don't actively manage it. We do inspect the bridges. Similarly, the western mile and change of the LVRT in Swanton is actively managed through a lease agreement with the municipality, but it is state-owned rail bank.
How many, is there mileage or how many miles on that Bennington? They manage.
I don't know, it's expanding out.
Okay, well, that's great.
So, yeah.
I would say, but my understanding is only a portion of that. And I want to say 2 miles or maybe less. It's a small amount of mileage is rail banked. And the rest maybe has been purchased through easements or other.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Representative Pouch?
Yeah, thanks for all this. We are looking at e-bikes and whether the rules, that we have now are sufficient or not. Are you challenged at all with e-bikes? And maybe you could just share, what the issues are, what you're finding, and if you have any suggestions, that might be good too.
We more so have had enforcement issues on segments of trails in a few locations across the state that we have really been working over the last few years through education and outreach, partnering when there's local police or county sheriffs, to assist. That has not been very successful, but typically what we see is less so of an issue with a class 1 or 2 e-bike and more so an issue with an ATV or a motor vehicle or a motorcycle or a moped or an e-bike that can act as a moped, really traveling at unsafe speeds. Like that's the biggest issue. I mean, yes, for us, the ATVs and motor vehicles and the weight of those and how they're operated can significantly damage our trail surface. So that is an issue, but more so from a user safety perspective, it's the speed. We did have a death on the NVRT this year. Someone was on a motorized scooter overnight, a segment of the trail that had recently been resurfaced, that the trip surface was not as, it hadn't been finished being compacted. They lost control and died. So part of our enforcement this year is putting more funds behind enforcement and working with the game wardens to target areas where we know we have repeat issues. And it's a 2-pronged approach. One is education and outreach. And then the second phase of that would be, if necessary, to ticket people because it is a safety issue.
Yeah, so there's, e-bikes are allowed. But
They are
what you're
allowed.
saying is occasionally e-bikes are part of the problem of people going too fast with the wrong vehicle or.
Correct. I mean, if you think about it, the part of what makes our trails at times boring for folks on snow machine is that they're straight and they're flat, right? But it's what makes them accessible. And so it means that people can really, if they're using a vehicle that is able to be operated at a higher speed like that, they can and will. So, and it's not everywhere. It's a few select areas. So we are working to target those areas.
Thank you.
Sure.
What is the speed limit for a snowmobile?
It is 35 miles an hour in most areas. We do have in a number of downtowns and village settings where the speed limit is 15 miles an hour.
A couple of things. One is you said that it wasn't necessarily the e-bikes that were the problem, it was the mixing up a lot of mopeds and things like that.
My understanding is that, and again, this is a little bit before my time in this role, but the e-bike statute, right? And the rail trails rules and regs sort of follow that statute where we say if an e-bike is allowed on a bike ped facility, this is a bike ped facility, so all e-bikes are allowed. So again, it seems to me just from the interactions we have had that class 1 and 2 e-bikes have not been an issue at times. It's those devices that can go at higher speeds. And if you think of even like a classic bike, right, that is not an e-bike, they can certainly go higher, 35 miles an hour on a straightaway that's flat very easily. So but I think it's for us, it's looking at the weight of the vehicle. Is it a allowed vehicle on the trail? How it's being operated, right? And it is very challenging to differentiate between some of these e-bikes. So again, what a lot of other states are doing with similar trail systems is looking at trying to regulate and enforce speed.
I just wanted to follow through with, we have a wonderful rail trail, Brattleboro is up the Western Railroad, 36 miles. It was based on an old rail bed, a narrow gauge railroad. And there was a book written about that railroad called 36 Miles of Trouble. Because the train kept falling into the water, these different things. But the trail is so much used and it's a very active nonprofit that runs it.
Same case.
Is there, do they shoot radar on there? Does the law enforcement?
So I can't speak to, so VAST, as you all probably are aware, has significant contracts across the state for enforcement on key weekends. And I can't speak to how they ticket folks.
So they're the only ones. So during the summer, there's nobody out there. If somebody comes whipping
We
through
will
when they're doing
begin
right.
for the first time this year to have enforcement trails. Primarily at this point, what we've asked for is for folks, it's for the game wardens to look for things that are obvious, like a vehicle or an ATV on the trail, and less so focus on speed limits, right? Because we don't have a posted speed limit for the summer season.
Hmm.
If that makes sense.
So why would if a higher, like a level for, that was a class, we got 1, 2, and 3 on the.
Great.
So if I'm on my electric bike and I'll do, say it does 30 or 40. There's no rule that says I can do that.
Correct. At this time, we do not, outside of the VAST season, we do not have a speed limit for the road trails.
Okay. Well,
Jackie, in the presentation we received from Candace Elmquist about the budget effort, there's a mention of reductions, miscellaneous reductions, expenditures and operations for 2027, admin, policy, public transit maintenance, and it says rail trails. The grand total is not, I don't want to say only, but it's 459,000. Is there a particular piece of your program that you're aware that you had to reduce or adjust, or perhaps some vacancy piece, or what your portion of that contribution is in that reduction?
Not that I'm aware of at this time.
Does anybody else have anything? Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
coming in and for your flexibility related to the floor this morning.
Thank you.
I think we're transitioning to the next budget overview piece. David Thurber is here on the fleet, and I guess Ashley's back with with the support in another position after yesterday too. So I guess welcome up to the chair piece. It's a pretty significant portion of the budget of T-fund expenditures, and we have I think a return from a couple sessions ago. I know you presented here when I've been in the committee, but not when I don't think it was, anyway.
Last year.
And then the year before, so a couple of repeat, 2, 1, 2, 3, third time's a charm for me, I think. Okay. Central garage. Here's a chart to show you.
Yes, I can try.
No, that's the central garage is where they pull the money from the different parts for the piece. That's right.
Fulfill the speed limit.
You're gonna tell us about a new building too, or is that some another day?
I can give you some information on the new building. Odd Law, of course, predecessor. Has been dealing with that for the most part. I apologize, I'm not sure, is there a plug-in that I need to?
Plugs, they're plugging.
Or is it share? I don't know. Ash, I don't think we're doing plugins anymore.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So,
I understand a couple of trucks have been involved in accidents, and then we're also loaning out some vehicles to a town that has faced a huge, that was it up your way, isn't it? Representative Wells?
What's
Town
that?
garage.
The crash?
Yeah, also the town garage.
That's
Sort of up your way, I guess a little.
Was the fire.
Which one, Lowell?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they've loaned us some vehicles, I guess they're down.
the V-Trans attempted to loan a vehicle, which was very decent, but they have a good relationship with Charlie Boys, Charles Charbonneau's, whichever you pronounce it, and the Frenchman in my area called Charbonneau. Anyway, they got him a truck in 24 hours. Tremendous service by Jericho Truck Dealership.
Yeah.
Good question.
Still in time. Interested in-
Anybody need any maple sugar? I harvested 5 trees and cooked this last night. You know, skeptical.
Yeah, we purchased those.
Uh-oh, busted.
I thought you made it.
I just said that
Yeah.
Eddie saw me. Jim, great reflexes. That reported.
Yeah.
It's over here. Can't remember her last
I'm
name.
not sure.
Okay.
It is in the power side. Yeah.
The.
Transportation.
Money.
We're doing it every 2 weeks, that we're doing it every week.
Yeah.
Okay.
You do it last week.
Yeah, I did that as well.
Okay.
Well, it's.
I wondered where.
You didn't feel that at all? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Send it to me again so I can send it out.
Yeah.
Because I deleted it. So I said, I told him 2 years ago, so could you send it to me?
No.
Yeah.
I guess it's a normal. It's normal.
Yep.
Yeah. And, you know, we have little friction we'll get from the government office. And you're looking at the whole budget, I can't look at the one part.
Yeah.
Obviously, I can't fix it in my area unless I do something different.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do whatever you want. Yeah, no. Don't, don't. That's just been hard.
I apologize for the delay here, but thank you very much.
Something wrong.
Yeah, we're all good?
I think so. Good
All
morning.
right, Jay, let's see what you got to say. That's a big chunk of
One
money.
of the,
Yes.
I guess a little ball.
He's finished.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. For the record, my name is Dave Thurber. I am the director of the Central Garage Fleet as of officially this afternoon. So, just I'm here to give you an overview of our CG budget and hopefully answer any questions that you have. We did have a much appreciated, but increase of $415,949 this year overall. Our budget is broken up pretty much into three pieces: personal services, which is all our salaries and benefits, overtime and things like that. And we have our operating costs and our equipment costs. On the left, you can see that it does say 26 at the top here, but our equipment fund is broken into a supplemental transfer from the transportation fund, which is approximately 3% a year, which kind of gives us a little boost to help fight inflation. And then we take the depreciation from all our active units. And the third piece of that is auction proceeds, which is probably the most variable, depending on how many vehicles we have to sell, what kind of condition they're in, what folks are willing to pay for them. I did do an exercise to reduce our budget and spending for 26, reduced it $576,000. To give us $2.4 million to spend on equipment, which has been mostly spent, or at least encumbered. We have a lot of stuff on order. Those kids take some time to get things from our dealers. We had a modest increase from last year to this year in the equipment fund, which I do have a plan for later on in the slideshow, which I can go through a little bit toward the end. Questions on this slide?
Representative McCoy?
But then there's the trucks as well.
Yes, it's
So your fleet, so
yes.
how, on average, how long does it take you once you order it to receiving? So if you're ordering in July 1, it's $3.4 million.
Our pickups have been 6 months roughly to get. The dump trucks, the chassis itself has been a year, 6 months to a year, and then another year or so to have them outfit. So right now it's quite a bit longer than it was in 2018, 2019. We were kind of on a year schedule. Now
Okay, so pretty much that 8.4 million is out the door on July 1.
I try to encumber it quickly.
Yeah.
Over the last year, truck chassis in particular, they go up halfway through the year, then they go up again later.
Yeah.
So we try to get that encumbered at the lowest cost we can before prices change and tariffs, when it is with tariffs.
Fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Representative Couch, and then Wells, and then White.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. What did, on the top of your head, I guess, how much of the work, the maintenance and all that for the trucks is done inside and how much do you actually contract outside? Just
I am gonna say that we're probably 95% in-house.
in-house,
Mm.
you know?
We have 35 technicians around the state. With 7 locations where we do repairs. We are able to do our own in-house warranty with International. So that we can do that, submit,
Yeah.
reimburse. So we do a lot of that rather than trying to send them to the dealers. So they're suffering similar fates as we are, finding.
That's my
To do the
next
work.
question. You know, getting certified
So
technicians a challenge.
the biggest challenge is unfortunately in Chittenden County. We have a couple positions that have been open for a bit. Trying to get folks to come in.
Do you partner at all with the tech center? Or tech centers?
We do have, as much as possible, maybe we'll try to get an intern for the summer, you know, that helps. Helps the BTC students or university
Yeah, yeah.
students that
So you do bring in,
try.
Yeah.
When we can.
yeah, good.
Fortunately, we don't always have the position later to bring them on full time.
Right.
But I am a BTC graduate of the automotive technology program, and we do have, I'm gonna say probably half a dozen around the state. 2 or 3 right at Central Garage in Berlin. We do have some graduates there, so it's,
Yeah,
and not that I would expect any different. They are good technicians and do good work for us. But we try not, you know, we did have last couple of years, we've sent some of our preventive maintenance work to a dealer, but it just was very expensive and we were chasing some of the stuff that they may have looked at or tried to repair, and they don't do all the same work that we do, so despite the fact that we are behind in chimney corners, having all the trucks 100% ready, we're still working on them. But I think when it does go out the door, I think we're a little bit better shape as far as it being more about, not to disrespect our dealers, right? They just, we do things a little bit differently, so.
thanks.
Representative Webb?
Yeah, you have 255 plow trucks on the road, 215 in service, 40 are spares. What's one truck cost these days, fully outfitted?
Our tandem axle dump trucks have reached 240,000. 290. I'm sorry. This is Mike Lettieri. He will be our next superintendent at Central Garage. I kind of wanted to have him here today to get familiar with the process and see how it goes. But so 290 and probably 240 for a 6-wheeler.
That's outfitted. Yep. Thanks.
I'm currently waiting for 46 to be outfitted. So we have 46 chassis waiting to be outfitted. So we've been able to get the trucks that are upfit vendors, they're swapped too. And they have some of our trucks, and we get generally a few at a time, but they're also doing work for New York Thruway and state of New York and Connecticut. So
Is that one repairable that you, that got buckled over in Barton Hill then?
yes, we are going to attempt to fix that. It's probably going to take a little while. It's going to take some time to get all that together, but they've been in service for 6 months, so we'll fix it up.
Brand new. Yeah.
What happened there? That was rammed from behind by an 18-wheeler. Too bad he's only 200 yards from where he's gonna park it, wasn't it? Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
You all set? Representative White?
Yeah, thank you. Just a little big picture to make sure I am understanding. So you are overseeing Central Garage, which has a location in Barre, Montpelier. I think you guys are talking about getting to a new garage, but right now, and then 6 others around the state. And you are overseeing the vehicles and the people maintaining the vehicles. And so then Ernie's group comes in and drives the vehicles. Okay. And did you say that you have 44 vehicles waiting to be outfitted? Is that
40, I think it's 46.
So they're sitting in your garages waiting for cloud part or sand part or,
So these are brand new.
yeah,
It's just the cabin chassis that we have waiting to go to the vendor in New York, have the bodies put on all the plow equipment.
okay.
And some of those are actually at our truck dealer. They're not all at our shop just yet.
And did you say how long it takes to get them up and running?
Um, these chassis will be available to us by hopefully November, December of this fall.
That's a lot of value sitting around not being used.
On the other side, I'm glad we have them. I know they're sitting, but we have them, so when they're ready, we can say, here you go, now we need our trucks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, how many employees in the central, or in this central garage and fleet?
52,
52.
52 positions.
And when the CFO presented, and the secretary presented their budget, was there any of the reduction in force in your area?
There is not at the moment.
And the savings that they were looking and presenting for the plan, I don't see where any of it was coming out of any of your vehicle purchases or any of your plans to purchase.
Correct. At the moment, there has not been. Okay. It hasn't been targeted for a reduction at this point. It's important to continue to buy new vehicles, to get the old ones out of the fleet for repair purposes. And as we buy new ones, we get the increased efficiency from the manufacturers, whether, for fuel efficiency. Not that it's going to be great while they're plowing snow, but, the fuel efficiency, the reduced emissions, a lot can change in 8 years. So hopefully they're better now than our oldest trucks. We continue to cycle them in and out. We have had to keep our older trucks longer right now because we're still waiting for this batch to be upfit. So there's an increased cost to keep the older trucks, to keep them repaired.
You're confident as they, well, I guess if and when these get outfitted, that we'll have the equipment that we need to continue to deliver. But the agency didn't choose to use anything in your entire area as part of.
Not at this time.
Okay.
I was not in my current position, but I do remember back in 2009, we were only able to buy three dump trucks.
Yeah, I just have follow-up here. Yeah, I'm assuming that includes the transfer from the T-fund, because that's why, I think it's by statute of formula.
Yes.
And we don't have that number because it's not in our book, so is that going to be the same? What's the number for FY 20s?
Actually, I would have to get you that because we added it into the equipment costs.
But I'm just saying that that's been a go-to as far as I'm now standing and taking money from there. Is that gonna be at the level it should be at?
For 27,
For 27, yes.
currently, yes.
Yes.
I think it would be about 3% more than what
Okay.
kids here in 26. That often.
Representative McCoy and then Representative Wow.
I just remember coming on the committee about 8 years ago, and this was one of the problems because we didn't have a schedule of replacement for trucks, and we held on to them because they're so expensive. So I'm glad to see that. I think we now have a schedule that we're following, that after a certain period of time, and we are funding to keep on that schedule, because I think in the long run, it costs us less because we do less repairs on much older trucks that are, does this,
We do shoot for 8 years on the plow trucks because they do the hardest work. They have most salt all over them. that sort of thing. So we do treasury for 8 years. Now, right now, it is more than that. You know, and of course, we like to think that if it's newer, we have fewer problems. I think that for the most part is true. And sometimes just because it's new doesn't mean it's problem-free, but
All right, thank you.
Allow me to.
Yes, I am just wondering if the older trucks have to be used longer because of the lag in getting the new ones in. That means that they're further depreciated, right?
no, so the plow trucks in particular are depreciated for 8 years. So
Okay.
that's kind of,
They sort of stop at 8 years. Okay, that was my question.
8 years has been the time that we figured, you know, over history, it shows that 8 years is a good point to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Because their costs do start to go up. But they end depreciation at 8 years.
Oh, okay, so that would mean that because I know they get sold to municipalities, is sort of their second life, right?
They're sold at auction,
They're at auction, okay.
which time a municipality could come and bid on.
Okay, but anybody could, okay, great. I guess I was just wondering if the 415,000 increase kind of penciled out for you, but it sounds like maybe it does.
I think that increase may have been largely in operating or personal services,
Oh,
not
okay.
necessarily in the equipment.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that clarification.
Yeah, it's a curiosity question, I guess. You've got the people who maintain the trucks, the technicians, and then you've got the drivers. I imagine there might be some conflict sometimes with that. How close do they work together, and does the driver tend to drive the same truck for the year unless there's a problem? Or?
Yeah, so the district side, the truck is assigned to an operator. If they have night patrol, often it's someone else that drives it, but there is sort of a primary operator. We encourage and try to work together as much as possible between the technicians and the operators. We do ask that if an operator finds a problem, that rather than all of them going to our supervisor in our repair facilities, it could kind of go through their chain, maybe the teams first, their immediate supervisor, so that we don't have quite as many calls coming in. But
They have some, like a work order thing, like an official, hey, I don't know, the steering is pulling to the right.
yeah, they use what we call the TA 160 form, which is basically a CDL pre-trip checklist.
Yeah.
So they can write stuff on there, then we get the paper. If it's something that's serious, it's generally a phone call. We don't try to wait for the paper to fill out.
Yeah.
So
Okay. But generally works okay.
for the most part. And we will actually, if we see some maintenance, something's being missed, especially greasing, we will have in some of our shops, we'll have an operator come in during PM in the summer months and help them go through and show them where all the grease fittings are, kind of give them.
So they're responsible for that. Yeah.
There is operator maintenance.
Yeah.
able to do it.
And last question, do all the trucks on the road right now have a name?
Most of them.
As far as I know, they all do.
So that program's still going.
Yes.
Very important question.
Yeah.
Great, thanks.
I understand, I'm a little bit away from that, but once they're named, I understand that they take the truck to the school that named it, so that
That's cool.
students get a chance to see it
Yeah.
and see the driver. Parents and students and teachers are all pretty excited about that,
Yeah.
so it's kind of.
There's not a Thurber snow crusher out there, is
There
there?
is not.
Let's just throw that out
Are
there.
you gonna put that in there for
Yeah.
next year?
Yeah. Anything else on this?
You name the Heinsberg truck.
Here is our fleet value. We have a asset management program. We put all our purchase costs and upfit costs and everything in there. It keeps track of it. It does our straight line depreciation. That's also where we make our work orders for the items that come up from the operators. If we had to replace all of our fleet tomorrow or Monday, its value would be $79.6 million. And our total depreciated value currently is $30.1 million. Oh, it says typical single axle plow truck, and I actually changed it for tandem. But this is just to show that, even it's actually been about a calendar year, we've had about a 9.5% increase in the cost of just the chassis. Truck vendors have been less eager to sort of hold the contract price for us, where the body outfit vendor has been pretty decent about, his contract price, maybe a couple of percent change, but so I'm gonna give you an idea of where we're at with purchase prices of our trucks increasing. Here's our vehicle age by class. The 16 category is our tandem axle dump trucks, they're the big trucks. We have 41 that are between 7 and 8, 37 that are greater than 8 years old, and 8 is our performance measure, and then 49 that are less than 7. 17 categories, the smaller dump truck, single axle dump truck. Quite a few greater than 8 years old, because we're waiting a lot of the 46 that are waiting are single axle dump trucks. Hopefully by next year, that number will be reduced. And the last number there, 27 categories, those are our small trucks that are under CDL. And we had to change actually, so.
Say that the fleet is pretty well aged after you get the 46 new ones.
Yes, yeah.
It's not right now, but there's a plan there anyway.
Yes, yeah, we try to, always try to keep it, keep things moving in and out. At risk of maybe somebody saying, why are you getting rid of that? Or something. I wouldn't argue that, but it's, as far as the fleet's concerned, it's done its time, and it's time for it to move on.
We have enough vehicles out there to make sure we can handle the roads. Yeah. Is that what can I say that, or could you say that?
Yeah, the number of plow trucks doesn't change much because our vetting miles don't change. So we, the 250-ish is a good number.
So when we hear from Vermonters that our roads are or are not taken care of to the level, one of the answers is not that we need more plows or that we don't have a plan for replacing, and we do have continued significant investment in the equipment. We have not pulled back our investment in equipment, and we have the amount of equipment out there that drivers need to get the work done.
It's a fair statement.
And you're not asking for any substantial increase in the current plans that you feel they're adequate.
Correct. I mean, we're at the point now where, I have to adjust some of the other stuff that we're purchasing to cover the dump trucks. For this year, we're good.
And for next year.
Well,
This is the budget for next year.
that's right. Yes, that's what I meant. That's what
So
I
I just want to make sure.
Yes,
You're telling me that you have what you need for this year and the next year into the future to do the job.
27. Again, we'll make adjustments and make sure that we have the plow trucks that we need.
Represent what?
Looking at the previous chart, 247 vehicles, is that your total? In your?
Yes, for the plow trucks. This is just the big
This is
dump
just
trucks.
plow trucks.
It's not include our pickups,
Okay.
some of the medium duty stuff with plows.
What is your total number of vehicles that you are overseeing?
$665. I could get you a firm number if you would like.
That's okay. I just wanted to get a rough idea. Thank you. And, and Mr. Chair was asking if you've got sufficient resources in the current budget. Could you do with a little bit less?
So yes, I have to. Concentrate on the plow trucks because that's the biggest dollar amount of the fleet. As long as I can continue with plow trucks in 2009, we only bought 3. So the equipment fund then was needed for other things and, we may do, took a while to catch up.
Yeah.
But, I think, like to cycle everything out as much as possible as often, our pickups, we generally depreciate for 5 years. So we can get, move those in and out as well. But,
Thank you.
okay.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this. We have a big storm coming across the nation, and I know like when power lines go out, power companies are probably heading down there now, who knows? Has there ever been a time when we've like gone to help, I don't know, Boston or somebody, and do you get those requests?
It has been a while. I do recall, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, Rob put together a group of plow trucks, loaders, I think. We sent some mechanics or technicians, and they did go to Boston, I believe.
Okay, that was
And,
16 years ago, yeah.
prior to that, when I started, I'd heard,
Texas. They went to
stories.
Texas.
Maybe we did.
I thought they did. Did they?
We've been to
Somebody did, maybe
Massachusetts and
Connecticut.
Yeah,
Somebody from
yeah.
New England went to Texas.
prior to my being there, so back in the day, yes.
Dave, I can expand that too.
Okay.
For the record, actually, I can send you director of district. Yes, we did go to Massachusetts, hopefully around that time frame when the big storm happened. We get these requests often. Actually, we're dealing with requests right now for assistance and have submitted figures as far as if our fleet was to go down and our personnel, what that would be. We're working very closely with my emergency management as well to figure out what the request might be. And, are we able to provide that assistance if it is requested along with making our roadways to the level that's expected as well. So those requests come in very frequently. And we support as best as we can.
Yeah, all right, thanks.
And our technicians have a pickup or a van. We put parts in there and they have their tools in, so they can go with our vehicles. Here's a graph of they try to just kind of pick up some random units in our fleet. This is a tandem axle dump truck that went in service around 2017, 18, and you can see initially when it goes into service, there's a kind of a spike in the cost. It's all our purchase and outfit costs. Of course, that comes down over time, and around 23, maybe around the first flood, you can see there's a bit of spike there for repairs and operating costs. It's likely used in flood recovery, and then of course here toward the end of its life, I'll say, you can see the costs go up fairly considerably. Just try to, we'll replace hoses and a lot of things sort of preemptively, so it doesn't break down and have to do it on the side of the road in snowstorm, on the interstate, that sort of thing. So it does tend to start costing a little more. And this is a 17 category truck.
Just a quick question on, repairs, like when you get past the lifespan of the 7-8 years that you ideally would like to replace a truck. Do you have sort of like a ballpark of how much you have to put in for maintaining it? If you go beyond that point, is it costing us like $100,000 per vehicle? break it down like that? Like, what's it costing us to go beyond the life?
I would have to do a little research.
Yeah,
I don't have a number off the top of my head.
just curious. No big deal, just want to be.
So the other thing we'll do is
Yeah.
when we take them out in a perfect world at 8 years, we'll
Yeah.
keep it another year, possibly even 2 as a spare,
Yeah,
especially if it's been a good truck, in decent shape. You know, we may cut back on our maintenance a little bit. Of course, it has to be safe. You know, might not put new hoses and other things like that, hydraulic hoses on it. But we do keep them safe and operable in case that one of the mainline trucks gets hit or breaks down.
works on what?
On the annual operating costs in operations, is that including diesel or gas or? Okay. And I'm assuming that you're not working with electric vehicles in these fleets right now.
We have 6, 8, 9 electric vehicles in the central garage fleet. We have 6 Lightning pickups. We have Ford Mach-E. And we also have 2 small electric pieces of construction equipment. We have a small excavator and a small, 2 small wheel bucket loaders. Unfortunately, and I'm trying to watch and keep an eye out, the manufacturers are kind of really small or really a lot bigger than what we need. They don't want to buy a lot of like loaders, for instance, that makes more sense for using a gravel pit versus loading salt with some of our trucks. And unfortunately, they're considerably more expensive.
Yeah.
But it's, of course, for the current climate, it's not quite as big as push from the federal level.
I hear you.
But I think manufacturers still looking at sort of the alternative fuels and with battery electric being part of it. So, and if I can, if we can find something in the realm of what makes sense for our fleet, certainly we consider looking into that. I do see on this slide, fuel costs. Well, I think it's for the life of this truck in this slide is approximately $61,000. It's at $112,000 for the parts over its life. See, I missed expanding the column that shows the totals. This next slide is the smaller dump truck, single axle. They're a little less expensive. Less axle, put brakes and tires on. Tandem has a little bit some other things that single axles don't have. You can see that over the last couple of years, it's starting to increase in cost to keep it down. Here is this is just a spending plan for Central Garage for fiscal year 27. We have the total of $8.9 million, and this is the breakdown of, sitting at my desk doing this on the computer is how we want to spend that $8.9 million. We will be getting only 15 plow truck chassis in 27, as I need to pay for the way we have to buy the chassis and then upfit them. I buy the chassis one fiscal year and pay for the upfit the next. So catching up with these 46 trucks that I'm going to have upfit, I need to make sure that I have funding to pay for them. So I had to bring down the number of trucks that we're getting, new dump trucks. But we also buy an outfit with DLD fleet as part of Central Garage. worked pretty hard in the last couple of years to get them into newer vehicles. They like to have the newer vehicle. Makes sense. So
Thank you, brothers.
there's kind of a list of all the things here that we have and we may or may not, many we may or may not get. We don't have plans for owning tractors or graders, or any of that stuff. Get a couple loaders. Down at the bottom, the miscellaneous capitalized expenses are things that we buy to outfit our small, light duty pickups, salt spreaders and snow plows and some of the things we put on those trucks.
Would the things like the loaders be like a request from one of the district garages and saying worn out or it's on a plan of rotation, or how does that work?
So we try to, they depreciate for 15 years, try to stick with that. If someone says, hey, this is really bad, we might replace that before something else. We generally try to make a list of which ones will talk to the regional supervisors, get their inputs. They often see them for repairs. And look at all of it, not just the age or the hours of the unit. We try to look at all of it. A lot of times when it comes out of service, we might keep in an area for a spare. So if have to, when it breaks down, it's going to take a while to fix it. At least we have something else. Something else they can use, particularly in the winter, for loading salt and moving snow.
So how many less, you said you're buying less trucks because you have to sort of sync up the chassis to the truck carry bought.
Okay.
What's the difference from last year?
Ordinarily, I would be looking at 27 to 30 chassis.
30, and we have what this year?
For FY 27, it's 15.
Oh, so that's, oh. So that's the cap. Okay, all right, yeah. And reiterate the chairs in your set for this year, next year.
I'm sorry, it's 27.
For 27.
I get that confused because we buy our trucks in calendar year.
Buy any more of them, though. Keep the chassis on, they're really good, right?
Yeah, that's true. We're that far behind, you don't think we might more. Till they catch up. Okay.
Yeah, I still like to have those folks in here. Gotta keep the pressure. I can appreciate, yeah. I don't like to see them sitting in our yard either.
Anybody else have any questions?
Nutshots.
I would say welcome to your new position, or congratulations on your new position. We'll look forward to hearing from you. And David, thank you very much. And
Very welcome.
if we have more questions, and I know there was a follow-up question or two that you had said you would be able to get back to a member on during there. I don't remember exactly which part it was. I thought I heard that. And thank you very much.
That's something that I offered to follow up with, and
I think it was Representative Raleigh.
Maybe I missed
Oh,
it.
no, that was Rail Trail, yeah.
Okay. No problem. I may have missed it. That's okay.
thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You as well. Stay warm and safe this weekend.
Thank you. Good to see you again. Thanks for your input.
I'll see if we can, we're go to Berrytown. I live in Berrytown, so go to the school.
We're going to welcome William Smith from Vermont Truck and Bus Association. We may not be able to cover all the things that but you're in the building and we can bring you back. I know there's a couple of things you'd like to cover as well. And then we can bring you back in for the rest of the testimony. We're talking about some permitting and talking about some issues of what's going on with that piece. And I know you have some other announcements and some stuff for the committee.
Well, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just one second.
I
Yes.
just want to say, I have a sign up for a webinar that I have to go to at noon.
Yeah, we're gonna end at noon and we're gonna bring them back. We'll bring you back, but I know that, I know there's others that have meetings as well. And I appreciate that, Representative Byrd. And we're gonna, you're gonna pay the price for the little bit longer floor.
That's fine. I'm appearing here all week. Don't forget to tip your waiter. So
Very good.
I can come in anytime, happy to do it. So Bill Smith, Vermont Truck and Bus Association. Association of, maybe about 300 member companies in Vermont, from, the size of like Michael New Trucking in St. Jay or B&B Trucking up in Irisburg to Bella Vance Trucking in Barry or Barry Trucking in South Burlington. The ranges there are maybe 2 trucks to 150. So, but national standards, that's all pretty small. I mean, a medium-sized carrier nationally is over 1,000 trucks owned by one company. And typical, those big companies you see coming in from out of state, could be 5,000, 10,000 truck fleets owned by that company. So we're a speck on the fleet on the back of the dog. But we're your companies and they appreciate it. And one of the benefits they provide to its members, and I'm an associate member of the seven. I don't have a trucking company, but I provide legal services to members and also do some lobbying for them, as you might have noticed. So some of the new things this year, we have a new president, Emo Chenoweth, the Butler Bus is our new president. Emo's company has been in Vermont for quite a while and in New Hampshire. So between northern New Hampshire and northeastern Vermont, they have 6 locations with about 300 buses total. Spread around the 6 locations. The Vermont ones are in Orleans, Lindenville, and White River. So that leads me to, it'd be nice if you could meet him. We have our March meeting over here at Capitol Plaza, Wednesday, March 18th. It's go lower for a buffet style lunch over there. Get you in or out pretty quick because of that. You folks have done it before. But with the changing of the guard at the association, I know that Chris Stacy Emerson was also a bus person. She was the president before him, and then before that was Roland Bella Vance for 25 years. And I quit on me, although he's still active somewhat in the association. He has my cell and he calls me on the weekends. So in any event, some of the issues, a couple issues that 5 minutes ago you hear is the state online overweight permitting has been rolled out. It came out late November, early December. This is the program that we've been nagging DMV about for the last 5 years, and they've been working on it. Finally, it's out there. And initially, there were some hiccups. I think it was mostly companies that weren't, didn't pull a lot of permits, is my sense of it. But as of month of January, things are smoothed out and going well. I know that when I came in the building here, I was, you would say, jumped perhaps by a senator who had some problems. So he reached out to the people, the companies that he was referencing, and they were already fine by then. So it was a bit of a lag in reporting to their representatives and senators versus what people have gotten to. To continue to support that, because this is not a linear line. Maybe there'll be hiccups in the future. Truck and Bus has do a series of Zoom meetings with our members that if they want to have problems with this system or they want to come in and learn how to do it, we've got some members that have volunteered. Jeff Newton from Barry Trucking said he'll help anybody who wants to know. Why is Jeff willing to do that? Because the guy or gal in front of him takes more time. It means he has to take more time to get his permit. So he likes to have everybody go fast. So there's some educated self-interest there. So that seems to be working. My understanding from the folks at DMV is that they will also be working with municipalities on their overweight permits, working with a couple of pilot programs and some volunteer towns to see if they can work that out so that a trucking company can pull an overweight permit for a town through the same system. That's always been kind of the goal here, at least my goal, is to link those up as closely as we can so that companies have one-stop shopping and so that towns and our state regulators can know where the big trucks are and make sure that they've got their insurance and they know which routes they're supposed to be on, and all those things can work out so that freight can move. So I don't know if you wanted to hear more about the overweight permitting or not, but cautious thumbs up here on that stuff, and we'll see what happens with the municipalities going further. There's nothing that needs to happen at this point legislatively. It's just administratively happening, and we're trying it out. And we'll see if the members of the League of Cities and Towns that are working in the pilot program can share that with their members and hopefully get some buy-in to that. There will always be towns that don't. What we do about that is a conversation for 2028. Let's see,
Representative Pound, have a question?
yes, sir.
Yeah, I guess it's a question or a comment, but just so you, maybe 3 years ago, I went to my town clerk, I was doing something and the assistant town clerk. And then I said, hey, is there anything I could work on? That was the number one thing.
Yeah.
The permitting is paid in neck and it's like, piece of paper and.
And you'll hear about it again come March, because March is when the towns want to have, there's two kinds of permits the towns want. They allow their overweight year-long permit to be over 24,000 pounds on the back roads. Basically, any road except Main Street is 24,000 pound road in town, most towns. So any truck that you need a CDL for about 26,000, you need a town permit. How do you get a town permit? You typically send them $10 and your fleet information and your insurance information, and they send you a permit that's good for your whole fleet for $10 for the year. So is there any criteria to this? No, there's not. Do we need to do it? I have plenty of members who say, why are we doing this? Towns have the charge of maintaining their roads and they want to know who's out there. The idea that no one has insurance anymore has kind of gone by the wayside now that we all have to have insurance. Man, that's a 25-year-old argument, but it's still out there. So do we need to provide them with our insurance information? If it's easy and one-stop shopping, like go on the state website and say, I want to click on these 42 towns or some 150 towns. And I want my permits for all of them. Here's my insurance information. Here's my fleet information. And here's my money. Towns, if they opt into that, that would be fantastic. So if they don't want to opt in, at some point, we'll be coming to you to figure that out. Carrots and sticks usually work well. Obviously, the budget issues, I have to at least say something about this. I read with interest H643. So Keiser, I think that a concept of weaning the one fund off of the other fund over time makes a lot of sense. I also think that this committee, it struck me as I sat here, looking around at this committee, thinking that this is a pretty fair cross-section of Vermont, both geographically, politically, even gender. It really is. So I put my faith in this kind of committee to come up with the right way to deal with these really tough choices to make. But I would ask, and I know you have this at top of mind, but I'm going to put it on the record. Please consider the leveraging of money that transportation fund money can do when it comes to fixing our infrastructure. When that federal money pull down, that 30 million is 150 million, really, that you're walking away from if you don't fund it. You all know that better than I do, but I just had to say that. And I'm going to have some faith in this committee that you'll get there. Over time, there's no question that we're not keeping up on the costs of things. Just like my member companies, harder and harder, operational costs go up, freight payments are fairly stagnant, and insurance costs go up when there's a $56 million verdict in Dallas, Texas against a trucking company. That affects insurance rates across the country because we all get to pay for that. So things, but other things, everything from the price of fuel to the price of training your drivers to the price of a new truck, all going through the roof. It's not an easy question to make. Again, I'm here anytime you want to talk to me about it. If you have anything from a loud truck going through town to a conceptual issue about the transportation fund, I'm happy to kick it around with you anytime. So quickly offer questions or standing between you and lunch. I don't want to do that.
Well, you're here. We have openings throughout the week at different times or different parts of the schedule. Things change. Floor goes over. People's delays happens. We can certainly have you back in at some point. We appreciate the invitation and the reception. We've always been fairly heavily attended by both the Senate and House Transportation Committees at the Vermont Truck and Bus Association reception. We appreciate that and your comments. And I think we'll probably want to hear an update on the permitting later in the,
Take a look at that again in March.
east. So, does anybody have any other comments?